Hey folks, Dan Fedor here. It's been a while since I've shown you any of the stuff I've been working on through video, so I thought that was a good time. Just finished working on a bunch of character creation stuff, so that's what we'll be focusing on today. So I'll jump right into it. When you start the game, you'll be starting in this character creation station. It'll probably look different eventually, but right now the basic idea is it's a small collection of rooms where you can change your character preferences, your background information, and that sort of thing. And initially you'll just be given sort of a random identity. In this case, it's Gia Ashley Griffith, I think. Let me select it. Gia Ashley Griffith. So we're going to actually send Gia over to the sink, which is kind of the most logical place to start. This is your gender and appearance. It's randomly assigned, so we'll make it, let's say, female, and we'll choose that appearance. Eventually, this will be probably a little bit more variable. Like, there's only 3 appearances right now hooked up, but I'd like for this to be a little bit more randomly generated. And we'll see if there's any other types of things like clothing or that kind of thing. But from here, the next thing you would do is walk over to this comms booth, which basically lets you choose which homeworld you're from. Choosing your homeworld provides certain benefits and drawbacks. There's actually a little sheet that ducked off the screen here when I first loaded this up, and unfortunately I have a bug that causes it to go too far off screen, so now I can't select it. But that thing would show you specifically what your benefits and drawbacks are for choosing any of these places. But in most cases, you're going to get a lot of low gravity or microgravity side effects from growing up in that kind of environment. Things like permanent low blood pressure, you get winded a lot easier, your immune system is deficient, and that sort of stuff. There are a few places like, for example, the Venusian aerostats and Hangzhou orbital, which are either wealthy enough or simulate gravity well enough that most people there grow up in Earth-like conditions. But eventually I'd like each place to kind of have its pros and cons and to have those roughly balance out. For the purpose of today, though, we're going to choose K-Leg Station, which is a shipbreaker outpost on an asteroid that sort of transits the inner and outer solar system. And that's partially because it's the only one I have sufficient data to show this for, but also because I think it's kind of one of the more interesting starting stories. And in addition to choosing where we start, we choose which social strata we're a part of. So right now we can choose between prepaying, which means we're like a legal resident or a permanent resident of this place, or we can choose this busted keycap thing, which is basically an illegal alien. You have no paperwork, you work under the table, that sort of thing. There's a third tier too, which is missing, which is citizenship. And not every place has citizenship. Like K-Leg doesn't issue passports. Hangzhou, for example, would. But for now, we are from the region K-Leg. OKLG is the like airport code. And then our payment method is error because we're basically off the grid. We don't have any official status there. So we'll head over from there to start doing our career. And this is kind of like a government build your own resume kiosk. And we can actually change our name, which I won't do because I'm just showing an example here. But if you wanted to do that, you would do it here. And this is kind of like the first stage in your adult life. Your career begins here. You're age 18. You have a maximum age. In this case, it's 47, which is based on where you grew up. So K-Leg has only been around for 47 years. Some of them will be more, some will be less. You can't really be that old, though, because the game is taking place in 2079. So we'll confirm that, and then based on where you are, you'll have different careers available to you. And I've only put 4 into the game so far, and they all slant towards the underbelly of legality. But you would see, for example, you're not eligible to be a prisoner because you haven't committed any crimes yet. But for example, you would also be ineligible to be a doctor. You haven't gone to med school at age 18. So there will be sort of staged careers like that. In this case, though, we can choose shipbreaker. It's a shipbreaking colony, we might as well. And then if we're able to take this career, you'll see these blue buttons, which are skills you can take as a result of your career. So choosing a career, it's basically choosing a 4-year term of time where you worked as in this case, shipbreaker, and what skills you picked up along the way. You'll also be able to see, when you confirm, the special events, like life events that happen to you during that term. And if you're not able to take this career, this will show you more detail as to why. For example, up here, even though there's some formatting issues, the required qualifications, there are no required ones, but the not allowed qualifications are imprisoned. These are supposed to be in 2 columns, but I somehow screwed that up. So you can't take this job if you're a prisoner. And other jobs will have different requirements. But in this case, we're good to go. So I'll choose a couple skills. I think since it's my job to take apart spaceships, it makes sense for me to know a little bit how to use them, skill ops spaceship, and also how to use an environment suit, since we're going to be spending a lot of time outdoors. And then you also get 1 secondary activity for this career. Not all careers will have that, but this one does. So it's something you do kind of on the side. It's not part of your job training. And let's say intrusion. I'm honing my ability to break into harder to get places, which makes sense. If you're in a shipbreaking facility, there's going to be some stuff that's locked away, and whether through welder or hacking or whatever, you're going to make your way into it. Well, hacking was another skill, but you get the idea. So we'll confirm that. And what happens here is we had a special life event. In this case, we discover a spaceship Hulk that could still be made space-worthy. It'll take some elbow grease, and you have to source some replacement parts. Plus, technically, it's stealing from the junkyard. Stealing junk, but it's still stealing. The yard owners won't like it when they find out. So while we were doing our 4-year stint as a shipbreaker, we came across a Hulk that looked like, hey, we could actually get this thing up and running. It doesn't belong to us. It was sold to the junkyard, and they're going to use it for scrap and make money back on it. So if we take it, they won't be happy, and that's where this antagonist comes in. Jayla Cruz, she's a pirate from Voltaire, Demos. In this case, it was just randomly generated. I don't think this makes a lot of sense, given that it should probably be the foreman for the junkyard or the facility owner. And also, this should only be assigned after we've chosen to steal the ship. So right now it just happened. But the interesting thing is now there is a character in this universe called Jayla Cruz. And probably right now she's on Voltaire. So if we were to fly there later in the game, we'll find her there. That is if she doesn't come after us. She won't right now because the AI doesn't do anything like that. That's kind of the next thing I need to work on. But that's the idea, is you're generating people that are either friends or enemies or just contacts that you can reach out to as a part of your career process. And you won't always get a ship. In fact, this is pretty rare to get it on your first try. So as you approach your maximum age, the chances of getting a ship get higher until it's 100% on your last term. And the idea here is to kind of build up a little bit of a social network, a little history for your character, and kind of figure out your place in the world. So what we'll do here is we'll look at the ships that are available, and none of the data has been really decided for these ships other than Class 1 and Class 2 are the 2 generic names. But what you can do is you can take a look at them before you choose it to start your game. But once you choose it, your career's over, and unless you go back and erase everything and start your career over, your character creation over, you have basically said, okay, I'm done with the career. This is the ship I'm going to take, and I'm going to start the game with that. We'll take a look here, though. And what that does is it'll actually dock it to the station we were just walking around in, so we can take a look. It says here that registration code has been docked, and we can proceed to the airlock if we want to view it. So we'll go take a look over there. And there she is. It's a pretty big generic test ship I've been working on. We'll go back in here and say that's okay. So instead of continuing our career, we'll go back to the ship page and we'll select that one. And then what we'll get is a summary. So these are some of the things I mentioned before when I chose my homeworld. My homeworld is K-Leg. Let's see, I'm fragile, I'm unfit, I have a slow metabolism, hypovolemic. This is a permanent thing. Like, I have a low blood pressure because I've been living in micro-G. I have a career as a shipbreaker, and these skills that I picked up along the way. And these life events, that ship and that antagonist, are now in my life. So the last thing I'll do is I'll go over to the self-care kiosk, which is kind of designed to look like a vending machine or a pharmacy kiosk. So you have a bunch of conditions, physical and mental, and these are like the medications to treat them or whatever. But that's just to kind of give you an idea for the metaphor of the UI. The meat of it, though, is balancing your pros and your cons. So we have all of these cons from living in microgravity, and we only have these two benefits: K-Leg illegal and metabolism slow. I'm not sure why that's negative. That's not really a benefit, but I'll have to go fix that later. But anyway, this list over here, you can see the ones that I already have are darkened because I've chosen them. I can choose to get rid of them here. Maybe I underwent some treatment or some therapy or even just exercise to sort of combat those things, and it brings my balance down a bit. Let's say maybe I'm not fragile because I work in a shipyard and I get banged around a lot and I've toughened up. But on the other hand, I am, let's say, I'm cruel, I'm a genius, I have an iron stomach. Let's see, I still have 3 points left, so I have good leadership qualities and good hearing. Got one more. I'll say stubborn. Actually, let's go all the way to tough. I'm not only not fragile, I'm tough. So we've balanced it out here. And like in Neo Scavenger, you can't take more good than bad to start the game. It'll warn you against it. But you can take more bad than good if you want. It'll just make your life a little bit harder. And some of these will have more physical effects, but some of them are planned to make a difference when you're managing your crew. Like, you're going to have a harder time with some people if your personality traits conflict, or you won't be able to do certain things. If I had impatient as a trait, I wouldn't be able to listen to somebody blather on about their problems. I just wouldn't have the patience for it. So that's not a tool that would be available to you to manage your crew. That's kind of where a lot of these come in, and the point values will have to be adjusted for balance. But anyway, we've squared everything away here. And we have a complete-ish character, so that's where this launch area comes in. So we go in here and we say, I think we're ready to go. We want to start our game. We've chosen our ship, we've chosen our background. It says pressing launch will end your character creation and begin the game. You can still go back now if you want to change things, but I think we're good, so we'll say launch. And that teleports us into our ship. And one thing I forgot to show was that when I chose this ship, one of the notes that was on it told us that we would start near K-Leg. We wouldn't start docked. We would start a small distance away from K-Leg, because in this case we found it in the junkyard. It's not docked. It's out there in the junkyard. And just to sort of illustrate that, this is the solar system. And if I go to the inner planets, You can see here we have Mercury through Mars, and then this is the main belt, and we're out here on K-Leg, which skirts sort of into the inner system. I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh, okay. I'm really close to a gravity well, so I think I'm seeing sort of some deflected ship positions. Unless that's another... Oh, I wonder if I've spawned another ship in the system, and that's interesting. I don't think I've actually ever spawned another ship in the system at the same time, so I was a little surprised to see that. I learned something new about my own game. Anyway, we're going to follow our ship so that we can zoom in on it a bit. I'll just kind of show you, like, we are really close to the station. We're not on it, but like as the jitter starts to get crazy here, that's the asteroid that K-Leg is on, and we're kind of hovering just outside of it. And under normal circumstances, this is where you'd spring into action. You'd decide, okay, well, there's an antagonist out there looking for me, and realistically it should have been somebody on K-Leg, so I probably want to put some distance between me and K-Leg. So say I might want to go over here, which if I switch off free targeting and go to snap mode, it'll snap to that colony, which is VNCA. That's New Cal, Aerostat, and Venus. So that might be a good place to go. Maybe I'll see if I can find some willing participants there to crew up with me. Or maybe I'll head over there and see if I can take up some work to kind of repair the ship for myself. I'll fly it on my own for a while, although ultimately I'm planning on flying solo to be kind of hard to do. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day and you have to sleep for some of it. So there's going to be chunks of time where you're not able to see what's going on your ship, and that could be dangerous. Doable, but dangerous. And the thing I'm supposed to be working on next is how is it going to be interesting flying from here to there? Because as you can see, this is... Well, it says 2.38 hours to go from here to here, but that's actually 1,000 times faster than it should be because I've added some debug thruster to this ship to make it travel faster for testing purposes. So in reality, this is probably a multi-day trip. You're going to be flying for multiple days. So the meat of the game, the bulk of the game, is going to be in transit from here to here. And making that interesting and fun, dealing with your crew, dealing with the problems that come up. Maybe you come across an errant signal or equipment failure or whatever, but you're basically trying to keep your crew and your ship together, and a lot of that is going to be going between point B and point A. But anyway, that's to come. For now, we have finished character creation, and that kind of gives you an idea of some of the stuff that will matter with these characters. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed looking it over. Feel free to ping me with any questions or comments, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.